Good afternoon and welcome to the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel powered by InsideTexas.com. I'm Joe Cook, got Justin Wells with me. It's our regular Tuesday edition of Recruiting Intel, but we are bringing it to you live here at 3 in the afternoon to talk recruiting. We've got a lot of big updates to go over. Obviously, Colorado State, that game is just 4 days away, but we got some recruiting updates. We posted a few on Inside Texas. We posted, we're going to talk about them here. So thank you for joining. Jimmy Morgan, Roaster, you've been with us for a while. Mara Pascale, we appreciate it so much.
Joe, I would love to be in Argentina, just not this week, not game week.
I would make the customary dove hunting joke, but I'm sure that Mara's heard it a million times. But there are a million doves out there too. So there, I got one in. Make sure you like this video, subscribe to the channel, help us get to 10,000 subscribers. We are marching closer and closer, and we appreciate it. So if you're watching right now, just go ahead, like this video, subscribe to the channel. And if you're watching this video right now, live on Tuesday, you can use the promo code KICKOFF24 for 50% off an annual subscription to Inside Texas. This is not going to last long, so you need to make sure that you take advantage of this promo before it goes away. This is a great time to be on Inside Texas. You've got recruiting updates like the one we're going to bring, You've got a bunch of different decisions. We've got insider team info. We recently posted our projected depth charts. We'll have more team notes. This is the time to be on Inside Texas.
It really is.
Today, we are going to talk about 2025 defensive tackle recruiting, including some new names to know and even some familiar ones that if you've been following recruiting, listening to this show for a while, watching this show for a while, you have heard them before. But there are a couple that Kenny Baker sent an offer out to in recent weeks that are paying close attention to the Longhorns. Is a decision imminent for a 2025 five-star? Something we have to track. And previewing Jaime Ffrench's Friday decision. Early in the morning on Friday, five-star Mandarin wide receiver. Jacksonville, Florida, Mandarin wide receiver.
Not Jacksonville, Texas.
No.
Just in case y'all were wondering.
Jaime Ffrench has never played in the Tomato Bowl. But five-star wide receiver Jaime Ffrench will be making his decision. We go over all the different stuff there. Again, thank you for watching. Make sure you get some questions in. We'll try to get to them at the end of the show. But let's get going. Justin, you wrote about a lot of different defensive tackles over on Inside Texas today. You can get that with a subscription. Again, Kickoff24 is the code. But let's start with some of the familiar names, I guess to say. Two from the East Coast corridor. That is Myron Charles and Kevin Wynn. He posted about those guys. That was either today or maybe yesterday in the Scoop. Right. And just what's the latest with those? I mean, we had Eric Naleen, our coworker, our managing partner, put in some a flip prediction on Myron Charles, but you've also had some info on that recruitment as well. What's going on there?
Yeah. Over the last 2 days has been a ton of defensive tackle intel and recruiting. We had it in the Scoop on Monday. I put up another post again today. I want to add another name to that list that people need to be familiar with, and that's Joseph Mbachu. He is a big-time defensive lineman out of Grayson High School, same school as Nick Brooks down in Loganville, Georgia. He's another one that needs to be on that list. He is going to be attending the Texas UTS game for week 3. He's committed to Florida. He committed 3 or 4 days after he got offered by Florida. Then Georgia came through with an offer yesterday. So this one's about to take off. This is a kid that's from Cameroon, not really familiar, didn't play a lot of football, so raw, but a lot of moldable clay there. So make sure you got Mbachu on that list as well. Myron Charles is the one we need to be talking about. There's a lot of them, but this guy out of Port Charlotte, he's the one because even after he committed to Florida State, we had still kind of heard rumblings that Texas was going to still be involved in this and that it could still go either way. Kenny Baker maintained that relationship as soon as he committed. He stayed through to it. Now, Eric put in a flip pick. I'm feeling pretty good about Myron Charles in Texas right now. I'm not in the win-if stage just yet. I'm not going there yet. But Texas is definitely setting themselves up well. There's another guy down there in Edge, Javian Hilson, who they're still talking to as well. And then you got Kevin
Our
Lynn.
buddy Brett was right on top of that. Charles, when's he coming in? And then he had a question too about Javian Hilson.
Okay, yes. I don't know for sure when Myron Charles is coming in. It may have been reported already from someone else. I'm not certain when he's coming. I do know he is coming for a game. Georgia, it looks like Georgia is the game that Texas is setting up to have a bunch of recruits. You know, every year they pick one home game where they really just blow it out with recruiting. That's going to be the Georgia game this year. That's awesome. I hope Myron Charles is there. He's going to be on campus at some point. I like him in Texas in this class. Kevin Wynn is another one. Man, you talk about just a bulldozer. Low to the ground, kind of gives me a Puna Ford vibe. Maybe not the tailback Puna was, but definitely a guy that gets low, can play that one tech, can play that three tech, does a lot of good things. Committed to Florida State as well. He's also a Georgia grad, or Georgia resident, rather. And then there's the new name, Malcolm Simpson. He plays for Hitchcock. He's actually out of Galveston, Texas. He played at Ball High for the last 2 years. He moved to Hitchcock recently. That's a kid to know. He's committed to Nebraska right now. He's about 6'3", maybe 255, 260. He projects to be a defensive end, defensive tackle at the next level. He's going to be bigger. That's a kid that's going to play at 290, 295, maybe 300 pounds, if not bigger. Very athletic. I remember the first time we watched clips of this kid about a year ago. It was the basketball that kind of caught my attention. And any football recruit that can hoop, you've got my eyes. And so I hope that kind of summarized defensive tackle recruiting here, the latest, because there's just so many moving parts. This class looks fantastic, Joe. We're talking about a number 8, and after Friday could be creeping into the top 5, but they have to finish D-line strong. We all know it. They got to get 4, and they got to have somebody to join that big cat from California, Josiah Sharma. So right now, 2025 defensive tackle recruiting is hot, and we have a ton of it at Inside Texas. If you guys have anything else you want to know or want to see, come see us, and we'll catch you up.
You know, I think Myron Charles, just because he's a defensive tackle, he's already got most of the requisite size. He's a name people are familiar with. That's the one that I'm paying attention to. Do you see, like, I kind of feel like the Sharma recruitment and maybe even the Myron Charles recruitment had a similar amount of crossover, had some similarity, because you're talking about some recruitments that you're dealing with regionality. Like Myron Charles is from that part of the country, Port Charlotte, Florida. It's not terribly far from, Tallahassee. Folsom, that's Northern California, not terribly far from Eugene, obviously. But Texas obviously did what they needed to do in the Sharma recruitment, got him back on campus and made the flip. Do you see similarities, kind of like I do, with the Myron Charles recruitment and also the one with Josiah Sharma, especially when you think about how they're at the same position as well?
I do a little bit. You've got a good point. The one thing I think that kind of holds me back is we knew Sharma was in, and Oregon came over the top at the last hour. And even that got corrected, less than a month later when Sharma got back on campus in late July. So Sharma in Texas, I felt like, had been doing that dance at the prom for a while. Myron in Texas had been flirting at the prom for a while. Baker's got his side eye. He's dancing with Sharma, but he's got his side eye on that other chick. You know how we used to do it. I like this one, but that's for later. And I think Myron Charles is that guy. Listen, Myron Charles has snuck onto campus in Austin before. People didn't even know he was there. That he's kind of a under the radar type guy there too. And so there's definitely some overlap. They're going to go out of state because you miss on Zion Williams, you miss on DJ Sanders, who Texas is still working on, but not to the extent of some of these other ones. You're going to have to go out of state. And I think that's why there is some similarities with a Myron Charles, a Josiah Sharma, and even a Kevin Wynn.
I think you hit the nail on the head with everything Malcolm Simpson related. I have a feeling that obviously Nebraska and no program that really has high aspirations, they try to not take guys as ways to get other guys. And I don't think they were ever in the Jonah Williams one. And, I don't think they're going to be in it for any of the other guys at Hitchcock, whether it's Kelshawn Johnson or even what was it? Lloyd Jones, isn't that his name?
Lloyd Jones, the quarterback committed to Texas
Tech.
Phenomenal.
So I think you hit the nail on the head with that one. I'm really curious about Joseph Mbachu. Like, I think that is a prospect that the rankings do not tell
Nope.
the story on. You go to On3, he's almost the number 12, 1,200 player in the country.
Yeah.
He's like the number 130 player in Georgia. And I get that he just started playing football, but he's 6'6", 285. Like, you can't teach that. You cannot teach being 6'6", 285. And when you're trying to find some guys who maybe set, I don't know, the floor of the class, that's something to definitely keep note of. But obviously Georgia feels the same way, considering they recently got involved in that recruitment. We've talked a lot about in the past, especially with even Grayson kids, how Georgia just has some odd, what's it called? Odd
In-state
dynamics.
takes.
Yes, odd dynamics with a lot of the in-state powers. This doesn't seem like that's one of those. This seems like it's one of the times where they are trying to make sure that a player with enormous potential doesn't get away from the Dogs. Anything else on defensive tackle before we get going?
No, I think we've covered that one. Again, you got to come see us at Inside Texas because this thing is changing over the last 48 hours. Ever since Saturday night, the whole defensive line stuff has been really picking up steam. Come hang out with us. Come give us a shot. Let us earn your money.
Before we keep on going, got to give some love to our sponsor, and that is Game Time. You know, if you are looking to get the best tickets, not only the best tickets, but also the ability to see from your phone what your seats will look like. If you are also trying to find out what the all-in price is, you don't have to wait on fees. You don't have to wait on anything like that. You need to go to gametime.co. That's where you need to go and head out. And it's not just for, hey, maybe this Colorado State game if you're at all interested, or maybe if you're trying to fly up to Detroit and drive to Ann Arbor, if you're trying to get into the big house. It's about to be MLB playoff push. Well, for one team in Texas. But if you're watching from anywhere, you can check out ticket prices and also the view, whether you're at Minute Maid Park, whether you're at Globe Life. Heck, if you want to get into AT&T Stadium or NRG Stadium or any NFL stadium, this is where you need to go. Seat views before you buy is the best thing. I think I used this for going to the USC game in 2017, and I realized that I've had this view of the peristyle and also the flame and all that stuff. So I got to see that, and it was awesome. So it is the lowest price guarantee. They will credit you 110% of the difference, and your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So take the guesswork out of buying concert tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create the account, use code ON3, ON3, sometimes I forget, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, ON3 for $20 off. What time is it, Justin? I'll answer for you. It's game time.
Game time! You know, I shared jet skis with Cliff Levingston in Cozumel one year. And I looked at him right before we took off. I'm like, what time is it? And he's like, jet ski time. And I knew it. And the people that were with me were like, why are you saying that to him? Who is that? Nobody recognized him. You know I'm going to pick him out.
Let's go ahead and keep on going. We got to talk about this one. Is a decision imminent for a 2025 5-star? We've long had some predictions in for San Antonio Alamo Heights as Michael Terry III to end up picking the Longhorns. We put in a lot of those over the course of, coming right out of his official visit, but also more so in the past couple weeks. We've heard some good things. And, I went to go talk to him, and it sounded like he wants, or at least he said this, he wants to see Lincoln and wants to see Eugene and knows he can drive right back to Texas kind of whenever he wants. But we have a sense it may be picking up steam a little quicker than that, and he may not end up taking some of those visits.
Yeah, with Terry, and he still very well could, but, for the longest, they've kind of had their eyes on an August decision. And I think Nebraska and Oregon have just made it interesting. I think they've just made it tougher on Texas right now, trying to land this guy because, after that official visit in June, I felt like Texas was the clear leader. They gave him a really good plan and presentation of how he'd be used in Austin. That's exactly what he needed to hear, what he wanted to see. And we talked about this too. His family's ability to go to a Texas visit and be back home for dinner and before the news comes on is immeasurable. In this day and age, I don't think fans understand the amount of mileage these parents and these family members and these coaches have taking these kids back and forth to visits. And I'm not even talking about official visits. I'm just talking about in-game stuff, camp stuff, junior day stuff. I mean, it never ends. And for the Terry family to be able to drive 40 minutes to go see their kid to play football on Saturdays, let me tell you, that is a big deal. He still could take these trips. He's maintained that. But we're kind of hearing this one might come to an end pretty quick. I know Texas has put a really good foot forward. I know Matt Rule has done a tremendous job for the Cornhuskers. Will Stein, the OC at Oregon, has been tremendous. He may take it into the first week of September possibly, but I just don't think this one's going to go much longer. His parents interact with Texas players' parents. They ask a lot of questions, and when you see that connection start to build, it's usually only a matter of time.
We got a great comment here from our guy, UT Parking. The more I watch Michael Terry, more I think he can be a situational running back. He needs the ball in his hands for sure, but he keeps growing the wing. But if he keeps growing, the wing back tight end move makes sense for him. He can do kind of anything on the offense. He's a versatile piece. They put little Jordan Humphrey in the slot a long time ago. They put him on the boundary. They put him, South Lake Carroll way back when, put little Jordan Humphrey at running back, and Tom Herman even decided like, okay, let's try this out, and got a touchdown against Oklahoma that way. So I see that as well. And I got to go talk to his head coach, Ron Rittiman, about what Terry brings. And you could not ask for a better kid to have in any football program. The Mules are happy to have him. He said that Terry is all about the fact that it's team-oriented. When I talked to Terry, I asked him about goals, and he said, I want to get past this round of the playoffs. It wasn't like, oh, I want 1,000 yards. Oh, I want something like that. It was, I want to do this for this program, this team, that type of thing. So it's been really fun to interact with him, and I like this comp. And I'm pretty certain we're going to see Alamo Heights use him kind of in that sense. They use him all over. They put him at wide receiver. They put him at running back, have him in the backfield. They have he plays at, I can't remember if they're 5A or 6A, so somebody can help me out. But he plays the go win the game position. And that's always extremely impressive when you're thinking about.
That's a good statement. That's a good statement, UT Park, and I like that. The thing with LJ Humphrey too, both of them like to play basketball. I'm giving the edge to LJ on the basketball on the hardwood. That dude can hoop. On the track, you give me Michael Terry. That kid is going to smoke you.
Before we keep, hold on, I like this one. Would you say he's a Kyle Juszczyk for the 49ers? I think somebody in a live stream mentioned that at one point, and I don't remember. Jeep Rex, maybe you can help us off the top of your head. I don't know Kyle Juszczyk's like size and specs, and I also know he's more of a true fullback.
Yeah, he's a throwback kind of guy. He's not near as athletic as Terry, and he's more of I think you said it, more of a fullback, more of a contact favorite, whereas Terry's more contact averse. But might be a comp there.
Maybe situationally, maybe as a threat, but you're probably, and that's the other thing. You see Juszczyk, and granted, a lot of it has to do, I think, with Shanahan offense. They'll put him in motion, but the motion's to be like, go knock over a linebacker. We'll see. I'm curious to see where Michael Terry's body takes him at the next level, because no matter where he goes, whether it's Oregon, Nebraska, Texas, like, he's going to get fed right and get the right nutrition for someone like him, who's still pretty. He kind of reminds me, like, physically of Jelani McDonald a little bit. And, Jelani McDonald's body didn't take him to, 220. It kept him right under 210 and at safety. Yeah. I feel like for Michael Terry, it could go a different direction. He could add more weight and be used as a guy who can do all the things that David Keith Williams likes: H-back, flex tight end, fullback, running back, can do all those things. But we'll just have to see, no matter what school he goes to, where his body takes him. One last thing to talk about. Thank you for watching this video. And if you haven't already, like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you're listening to us on podcasts, go ahead and give us a 5-star rating and review. We appreciate everybody who's watching across all platforms. Have 1,500 here at 3-ish on a Tuesday, so helping you get to the end of that workday. As people were asking in the chat, Jaime Ffrench does decide this Saturday at 7:25 Central. So our buddy Chris Bennett and anybody else on the Pacific time zone, you better get up early if you want to see this decision. I think it will be an announcement at Mandarin High School. I think it'll be carried on video. But Justin, this is one that we've been tracking for a long time. We've talked, and I like how I got the Friday decision in there. Good call. I'll give you credit on that one. But we've talked about Jaime Ffrench, I feel like, since April. And especially when, and you've noted this on Inside Texas plenty, when he made that April visit, that one that a bunch of prospects came in to come see practice and see how Chris Jackson operates and all the different things that Texas has available to, star football players in multiple respects on and off the field, that really resonated with him. Brought him back for an official visit. He thought, and I remember he said this after his official visit at the airport, he thought about coming back in late July, but he went and saw his other 2 contenders instead. But even so, this feels like one where we're talking about it. We're talking about getting up early on a Friday, tracking this decision. We feel good about it. I think you have a prediction in, I believe. A number of others do. Even since, what's it called? The On 3 Elite Series, where he talked about the Longhorns. It's always felt like, even with in-state Miami, even with LSU, even with his one-time commitment to Alabama, granted that was with Nick Saban, that Texas has found their footing in the recruitment and not just done that, but climbed to the top.
Yeah, look, Jaime Ffrench, I've said this before. I'm going to keep saying it. That kid is delightful. Like, he is just a ray of sunshine when you talk to him. There's something, he's just positive. There is an energy there that is immediately when you meet him, you feel important. He's got that type of charisma. And we've had a few questions. Why the early call? What's a good comp for him? We've got those answers. Why is it at 7:30 in the morning, Joe? Which I actually told him that was outstanding. I love that. We love the early commitments. That way we can do stuff during the day now. We love those early commitments. He has a game Friday night. His coaches don't want him doing that in the afternoon when they could be distracted during pregame. They don't want him. Jaime doesn't want to disturb anybody before their first game on Friday. So go ahead and do it early in the morning. You're going to be up at the locker room anyway for off season, the off period. Go ahead and just knock it out early in the morning. So I'm going to have some coffee, maybe a little piece of toast, and maybe it might be French toast. I don't know, but it's going to be fun that morning. My comp for Jaime Ffrench, I'm going to go a little old on you. The grays are going to come out a little bit. The Los Angeles Rams used to have a wide receiver named Henry Ellard. Ellard in Ellard. Henry Ellard, that's my comp there. There is a raw factor with him, but he's got speed that's a little under the radar. He's got great hands that goes a little unnoticed. He's just very raw in a lot of his aspects, whereas in opposite, Khalil Lockett is so refined in so much of his skill set at receiver. French, he's got some development to come, but he has so much ability. Like, he attacks the football. He is violent in the air. He's just absolutely a dude. And so I'm ready for Jaime Ffrench's decision. I'm ready for Thursday's decision preview. And then I'm ready for the commitment video. And I'm ready for this class to jump around top 5, top 6 if they can secure Ffrench at the last minute. I think Texas is in a good spot there. The schools that are in the mix don't feel as confident as Texas does right now. I think that's a big tell. And so unless something changes from now and then, again, Texas is potentially getting one of the most delightful kids. This is a kid you want in your program. Because let me tell you, wide receivers, I love you guys. I love you. but y'all can be a little high maintenance. Y'all can be a little divish, little too much. Jaime Ffrench is not. Khalil Lockett is not. Chris Jackson is identifying team guys that have 5-star potential, not me guys with 5-star potential. And that's why they love Jaime Ffrench.
One thing, and I say this with zero malice because I like interacting with Jaime Ffrench. He's someone that understands, and I think Cedric Baxter is this way as well. He's someone that understands how big of a superstar he can be in modern college football. And I think he understands how great he can be on the field at all those different schools. I think he understands how great he can be and how valued he can be off the field at those schools. I think that is one of the most charismatic guys that we've been able to talk to in this class. Dealing with his family, talking at the airport after his official visit was great. But you can tell with Jaime Ffrench, he knows he's good. He's confident. There's a little swagger. I don't think it's cockiness quite yet. But he understands that in modern college football, in all those offense, but talking about the Longhorns, Steve Sarkisian's as well, and possibly in Austin as well, just how far that type of thing could take him. And I think that's going to be a major factor when it comes to finally make his last decision.
Hey, that's a great call because I think he's savvy. I think he understands everything that's happening right now. You're right. I think he's savvy and he understands Texas is the platform to get him where he wants to go.
Before we get out of here, got to get to a couple questions. And I wanted to go to one from Viper02 on the message board. I don't have it typed up here, but he asked, how many of these guys are going to be early enrollees? I don't know off the top of my head, each one. We need to get that list together.
That's a good question. Sure. We should go ahead and start getting that. But I'm going to tell you right now, it's probably over half the class right now. Like I just saw Lance. I'm going to see Lance Jackson on Friday, early enrollee. I just saw Ricky Stewart working to be an early enrollee. I think it's going to be similar to last year where a lot of these guys wind up being on campus in January. And I think this is going to be a trend with Steve Sarkisian because he likes guys that graduate early. They're usually more focused. They're more driven. They don't have distractions. They want to get to campus and get straight to work. And these guys are watching Ryan Wingo getting impactful minutes. They're going to watch him this season. They watched him in spring. They saw Anthony Hill and Manny Muhammad still starting jobs last year by the end of the year, coming in as impact freshmen. And so I think you're going to see majority of Sark's guys moving forward are all going to be early enrollees. And I don't think he'll take a quarterback that isn't an early enrollee while he's in his regime.
One thing, and maybe this changes because I think there's some reports of they're trying to make it so there's only one portal window, get rid of the spring one, only have the winter one. I think a lot of kids started to realize, I need to get on campus so I can start earning my keep and make it so the coaches aren't like, oh no, like it's kind of like bird in the hands, you know what you have. If they see someone like, I don't know, Ryan Wingo is a great example. He's a 5-star. Texas has a lot of faith in Ryan Wingo. They may go after more than just Silas Bolden in the transfer portal at wide receiver if Ryan Wingo's not on campus. Just hypothetically.
Yeah.
But because they had Ryan Wingo there on campus, they knew, look, we got a dude who can play right now. So I think a lot of kids used to enroll early just because, and also I think, when was the last time we talked about somebody who had a qualification problem? It's been a long time.
Ever since the NCAA lifted those strict requirements, yeah.
Right. So I feel like we haven't really had that to where it's an issue for kids. It's like last minute stuff on Memorial Day. Yeah. Now they're all in good shape and getting their academic stuff done and are able to do that and enroll early. It's easier for them to do that. I don't think the lifting of the portal is going to, or the spring portal, if that happens, is going to have too much of a downward effect, just because these kids have seen so often how much it helps their career over and over and over, just to make sure that they're in a good position. Got a couple more questions, or a question and a comment. Roger G. Justin, how many more corners are we expecting in this class, and who are the top targets at that position? Obviously, Caleb Chester is committed. If you saw on social media, he made a very nice play. I think it's week 1 for them, but what's the latest? Because this is one where Terry Joseph has some work to do.
They went big at corner last cycle, so I think they're going to be a little judicious in this class. They wanted to play Cade Phillips at corner. They had him as a nickel and a safety. They had him as a defensive back, but Cade wanted to be solely a corner. And so that one's a bad beat. But right now, with Aiden Anding picking LSU, this is the time of year where we find the late senior eval. This was the time of the year 2 years ago when we found Warren Roberson and Jelani McDonald. And so I expect Texas to find one of these guys. I'm telling you something. There's a kid in Kilgore, Texas right now, Jaden Sanders, 6'3", 195 pounds, can play corner for Texas right now. A 3-star. He committed to Michigan a couple weeks ago. So he's
Justin
going
Wells, 6-star.
He's a Justin Wells 6-star off the field. You talk about a good kid. You talk about a really good, really smart. It's hard to get into Michigan. And so he's up there. I think Texas should, rattle the chains on that one a little bit. Maybe check in on Kobe Sellers, check in on Cortland Guillory. It's going to be interesting. That's, we're all focused on D-line, and there's not as many corners in this. So this is what I think might happen. They're going to, they'll have a couple graduate, get out. I think they might go to the portal once just to make sure that they've got depth. But look for the late senior eval. Look for a guy that kind of pops up on the radar over the next few weeks. And look at teams where a head coach could be out of a job around November, because Sark kind of smells blood around those programs and usually goes usually goes fishing. And I love fish, just like the working man. He usually goes fishing in those parts for those type of players. And so, Roger, that's actually a really good question. I think they're going to continue with some of the guys that they have on the top of their board, just staying consistent with those guys. But they're going to add one more. They've got to add one more, and we may not even know who that is yet.
Right, exactly. And then, there are several within Texas. And like you said, senior eval always makes a difference. Patrick Page, thank you for popping in. Did I miss the talk?
I can refresh his memory really quick if you want me to.
We can refresh the memory, but I do encourage everybody, head to Inside Texas. I know you're there, Patrick Page, but go and check it out. We had 2 DL recruiting posts over the last couple of days from Justin, but want to give us the quick refresh?
Myron Charles, good flip position. Kevin Wynn, they're trying to situate that. Joseph Mbuche, they're getting him on campus for the Texas UTSA game. Malcolm Simpson, that's the guy to pay attention to. I think Texas really likes him. Former Galveston ball defensive lineman. He's really close to Jonah Williams. He was at the ceremony for Jonah on Saturday. He's now a defensive lineman with Hitchcock. And I'll make one bold prediction here. If Texas can flip Malcolm Simpson, they can flip Kelshawn Johnson. And Michael Terry could take that 3 or number 4 wide receiver spot in the class of 2025.
Before we get out of here, got to give one little bit of love to our guy, David Keith Williams again, but I got to disagree with this one. The only certain difference maker from the 2024 recruiting class is Alex January. I think we may have a graphic coming up. I can think of 5 off the top of my head, including a couple who are going to make differences this year. I mean, Wingo, I think that's going to be a wide receiver 1, maybe next year, if not the year after. Colin Simmons, once Trey Moore, or whatever happens at that position. Kobe Black running with second string guys. Now, I'm not sure if he's a
Jordan Washington.
Jordan Washington. Yeah, for Mr. Tight ends and defensive tackles, I'm surprised that he only picked one. We love you, David Keith Williams. And then, and maybe, am I missing anything on somebody mentioned, is he only meant defensive line? I know.
There's no difference makers in this year's defensive line haul. Alex January is going to be a developed guy, but in 2 years, he'll be a dude. He was a dude when you're starting on the defensive line at Duncanville as a 15-year-old sophomore, you can get it done. So he'll have there. Melvin Hills, he'll be another one that's going to have to, put in the microwave, warm him up a little bit, get him cooked, get him developed, get him in the oven, get him right. So it's going to take – I'll tell you one, a difference maker along that's playing some edge is Zena Umeozulu. That joker came in and went up over 250 pounds like that. So it's a good question. But I think with this defensive line haul, these are more developmental guys, and I think that's the main reason Texas went so hard and heavy in the portal in that spot.
I'm double checking. Obviously he made a clarification, and my bad for reading over
that's
that
why
one.
Yeah,
I mean, the only other guy in that class was Melvin Hills.
Alex January won't be in the 2 deep. I wish he was, but if he's in the 2 deep, those portal guys went horribly, horribly wrong, and I don't think that's the case. Those are grown men. A couple of those guys are 25 with families. They got kids to feed, and they're not going to let an 18-year-old take their job. And January's still 18. Actually, has he turned 18 yet? He's one of the youngest guys in this class. I love his upside, David. I just don't see it happening now. Ask me next year.
I think one thing I don't know when he's going to be a difference maker, but we did learn that Melvin Hills is a defensive tackle.
Yes.
Like he looks like a defensive tackle. He's not one of those guys that you're like, okay, is he going to make it up to 290 or something like that?
Right.
Getting looks at him over the course of the preseason, I could tell that guy's going to be a defensive tackle before his time is done. But obviously, as David Williams can tell you, defensive tackle recruiting is extremely important. There's still work to be done there, but the Longhorns have done a lot of work in recent days. Got to say it one more time. Use the promo code Kickoff24. If you're watching this now, there's not a lot of time left. So go to Inside Texas, use the promo code Kickoff24, get 50% off an annual subscription. You're not going to want to miss this, especially as we enter the SEC. We're 4 days away. It's time for football. We got decisions, though. But also, make sure, if you haven't already, like this video, subscribe to the channel. Help us climb to 10,000 subscribers. We appreciate everybody who's joined us for this ride so far, and we're looking forward to the rest of the year. So, Justin, thank you so much. Thank you to our sponsor, Game Time. We'll see you next time on the Inside Texas Football YouTube channel, powered by Inside Texas tomorrow, InsideTexas.com. Tomorrow morning, be back for our live 9:30 a.m.